Oi. Let's Talk Games, episode 14. Let's do it. To your left, we have Dan. To your right, we have Jamie. And I am your host, Uncle Chunt, the one and only. So we're just going to hit right into it. There's a lot of stuff to talk about today. Doing back-to-back episodes because we're that special. What have you guys been playing? Dan, go.
As a follow-on from our conversation last week, I jumped into Iron Man VR. I did it. I was Iron Man. I am Tony Stark. And it was really, really fun. I think in terms of negatives, I think there was only a couple of times where my hands didn't match up exactly where they were meant to be, but with a little correction that fixed itself. So the demo actually gives you a lot more than I thought it would. So it takes you through like the basic tutorial session just to show like, you know, how do you fly forward, right, left. So the way it does it is just like Iron Man would. Like if you want to go backwards, you put your hands out in front and you just and that will push yourself back. If you put them facing behind you, it'll propel yourself forward.
That's good.
On the move controllers, I can't believe we're still using move controllers, by the way. On the move controllers, you on each controller has one of the buttons will turn you on a 45-degree angle. So if you need to if the way you're flying is, because you can look all around you, but if you need to face yourself up, you press it and it moves you in 45-degree angles, which is much better for movement rather than doing 90-degree, because it can really disorientate you if you're jumping too much. So it takes you through a tutorial. So I'm like, oh, okay, so they're going to show me how the game plays and it'll end here. And then they're like, all right, and then let's go to the first mission. So then I ended up playing the first mission, which is you're on a plane and the side of it gets blown up and you fall out and you're looking for your suit, and then your suit comes to you like one hand at a time. So like you put your hand up and
that's cool.
It yanks it and the control like vibrates when it hits it. So it try to make it feel like it's coming to you, and then it goes the other hand, chest. Which when the chest thing happened, I actually moved my chest backwards, like I just got hit.
Immersed.
And then the face, and then the whole thing is trying to save this plane that Pepper's on, and introducing the story. So it was a good hour, maybe, that I was in there, and
wow,
I was blown away. I had such a good time. Apart from that, I played continuing to play The Last of Us and the first one. Ready for the sequel next week. But so that was my week of games.
Right on. How about you, Jamie? We'll cross over to you, sir.
I've played all the video games this week to be making up for the lack in the last few weeks. So last week we talked about Oculus, obviously with the impending arrival of one, and I've spent the majority of this week in VR. Actually exercising more than anything, which is new stuff for me. Played so much with Box VR. It's brilliant. Think Guitar Hero, but you've got boxing gloves and you're throwing at the uppercuts or hitting jabs and defending blocks and crouching down, like getting a good old workout in. Played a load of Beat Saber as well. And played some Pistol Whip this morning. There's something about Pistol Whip that makes me go, I should love this, and I don't. And I can't click with it. I don't know what it is. Like, I'm enjoying these other kind of rhythmic games more. And I started a game also. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about them because I'll be here for an hour. Started a game called Orbus, which is a MMO in virtual reality.
Oh, wow.
So that's strange.
Oh wow.
It's weird to the fact where, like, like the first mission that you get in an MMO or an RPG or something is usually like, go here and collect me this and bring it back and show that you understand how a quest works. So in that, it's like you have to go smash some mushrooms and take them to the quest vendor. So you actually walk up to these mushrooms in the virtual world and like break them down and take them back. It's interesting. I want to play some more of it. I haven't been far enough into it, but that was like this is dangerous, because they're my type of games, like RPGs,
Yeah.
MMOs. That's my vibe. So I might get lost in virtual reality. And I also played the first, well, you can call it the first mission. I got off the first planet in No Man's Sky VR, and that is
cool,
ridiculous. I'm playing it as a seated experience because I'm tethered to my PC because the Quest plugs in, and I don't have enough room in here really to move around. If I'm using the Quest, it's downstairs and in the lounge and away from walls and expensive monitors and things. So still an unreal experience though, like the ability to sort of just look around 360 when you're in space, and on the computer chair, like you kind of you spin around in your chair and just look about out of your windows. It's nuts. So yeah, I've been very, very happy with my re-entry into VR. I think it's improved a lot. And I want to play some more stuff over this weekend. Got a bunch of stuff kind of queued up to get through. I did a boxing game as well, not like the Get Fit boxing, like the actual one where you punching another dude in the face, and that was terrifying. It was a like 7-foot giant dude that just like towering down over me, and I was like, this is a bit close for comfort. And the last VR thing I played a lot of is table tennis. I think they call it something 11 table tennis or something like that, and it's phenomenal. Like that's been my favorite VR game. Just standing there, you feel like you're at a table tennis table, and the actuation of the remote in your hand feels like a paddle, and it's got the feedback. So every time the ball kind of hits off the paddle, you get that rumble, the haptic feedback, and it's you get immersed. It's like I keep saying to my wife, I'm stood there, and it's like I feel like I'm playing table tennis. I get lost in it. So yeah, all the good VR things. Outside of VR, I've played a lot of Destiny. New content dropped this week. Probably going to come up in the topic later on, so I won't harp on too much. But yeah, so far so good. I'm more excited about what's coming, but this is a nice little carryover. It's same old Destiny, but it's fun to jump back into that. And there's one more thing I've played.
Are you sure you're still not in virtual reality?
No, I was going to. I was going to literally do the podcast in VR because I can mirror my computer screens to the headset. I was just going to sit here and talk to you guys while I had you like literally in my eyeballs, but I ran out of time getting ready and normal setup ensued. And the other game I played outside was Streets of Rage 4. I've been meaning to go back to that for a while. I remember playing Streets of Rage 1 or 2 when I was really, really, really young. It gives you that nostalgia kick. Chunt, I don't know if you've got to it yet, but
nah, it's on my list.
Yeah, it's good for a hit of nostalgia, but it's not something that I'm going to sit for 3-4 hours and play through. I had, like I said, No Man's Sky, all this kind of stuff to play. So why would I? So yeah, lots of games from me, and I don't want to eat up any more of the podcast time. So over to you, Chunt.
Right on. Yeah, cool. Well, you guys have been doing all the VR awesome stuff, and I'm sitting here playing like a 5-year-old game. It's like Life is Strange. I finally got through that last weekend. Marathon the hell out of it. So I'm done with that. And just Animal Crossing. Yeah, look. I really enjoyed it. I think I got halfway through the game and I was sitting there going, you know what? I'm really enjoying just playing through a story that I'm not having to, do reaction things or go questing for like menial items, or, I was just able to follow this story and make my choices. And I found myself sitting there for a good couple of minutes sometimes on these choices going, oh God. Like, I knew full well that I could just rewind, but I like just making my decision and sticking with it. But there were a couple where I did feel a bit guilty, so I did rewind and change it. The game got me invested to the point where I actually gave a crap about my choices, so that was successful. But overall, yeah, look, I really enjoyed it. The world and the story and the characters, I thought was pretty cool. It's a good concept. I think Chloe gave me the shits like towards about halfway through. I've had enough of her, to be honest. Like, I understand she was a bit troubled and whatever else, but I'm like, come on, like teenage angst, yeah, blah blah blah. But Max was like a younger character who had her shit together more than she did, So I was like, what's your excuse, kind of thing. That's just me, probably been a bit too harsh, but otherwise, yeah, Max was more endearing. So I kind of took to that character more and was championing her story more than anything else. But yeah, it just got pretty epic towards the end. I don't want to spoil it for anybody else that hasn't played it yet, but yeah, I'd be good for an actual sequel, not a prequel, I think, just to see what happened next. I don't know if there is one, but feel free to jump in if there is one. But if not, I'm happy with just that little pocket. Like I have the Life is Strange 2. No, wait up. Yeah, I got Life is Strange 2 and the Before.
Before the Storm.
Yeah, Before the Storm. I've got that, but that's the one that's all Chloe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't played
So, no, I haven't either because I just don't care. You know, like Chloe gave me the shit, so I don't really care about her. So I'm not going to go play through a whole game with her. But Life is Strange 2, I'm pretty keen to go through just to see what that's all about. But yeah, otherwise, I'm still paying down my massive 2 million something bell debt to Tom Nook. And yeah, about it. No exciting VR events for me. So I'll live vicariously through you. One day, if PS5 ends up having a PSVR 2, I probably might just jump in at that point. That might be a topic for another day. But speaking of exciting things, yeah, or another podcast, yeah. But speaking of exciting things that have happened that we can all enjoy, Destiny 2 is bringing the noise recently, and I think popped all kinds of fluids for Jamie the other day. So this podcast is going to be rather educational. I think we're going to have some shared knowledge, a bit of edutainment across these three topics. Destiny 2, Jamie's all about it. The Last of Us 2, I think this is more in Dan's wheelhouse, so we're going to talk about that some. Then we're going to end off with an Alex the Kid remake, which I'm excited about. So first off, we'll go with Destiny 2. Now, Jamie, Beyond Light reveal. Initial thoughts for you?
It's more than just the Beyond Light reveal. Bungie gave us a collective walloping of, we're committed to this. Here's the next 3 expansions, the next 3 years of content that you're going to get. And as somebody who plays regularly, I'd consider myself, except last season, a hardcore Destiny player. The last season was just god awful, and there was no point in really playing it. So, you know, a lot of people didn't. 3 years of content coming, it kind of stumps these, is Destiny 3 a thing? Rumors right in the face. It's like, no, like they don't plan on making Destiny 3. That's the narrative at the moment. I do still think one will come. Either that or the engine will be redesigned and they'll deploy to it and it'll just become Destiny. Like they need to get it onto the new consoles first. They need to get crossplay sorted out. They need to give us kind of new expansions, new story. If they can keep all of that going and then build the other stuff in the background, then so be it. But it looks like those expansions are going to hit on a kind of an era. That's how Bungie described it. You know, we started out in the era of light. We moved then into an era of loss with, you know, the death of Cade and kind of where we're up to and we've experienced now. You know, we're constantly losing things. We lost our power, we lost our friends, we got them back, and now we're moving into an era of darkness. The memes surrounding Destiny as a game being like, oh, who and what is the darkness? Like they're finally starting to answer that. But I think it's going to take all 3 of these expansions for them to do it. This one will introduce us to the darkness, and for anybody who's currently playing the game, you'll know the pyramid ships rocking up just around space at the minute, and that's pretty cool to see them in the sky. And obviously we had one in Shadowkeep last year's expansion. Then the new expansion will take us to Europa, which is something that Destiny's been teasing for ages, and Chunt, I know that's one of the planets you've been keen to visit for a while. Well, moons you've been wanting to visit for a while.
I'm all about the Jupiter locations and Io and just that whole skybox. It's just everything I want. So going back there, Europa is going to be fantastic. Yeah,
it's supposed to be the biggest location they've ever built. So we'll be going there. They're taking some stuff out of the game, which is fine by me. I know people are annoyed about it, you know, taking content away that you've paid for, but it's like, come on, they're taking out content that's 4 years old so they can give you new content. Like, swings and roundabouts. And then the following year, we're getting the spiritual successor to the Taken King, with a focus on Savathûn, Oryx's better half. So we'll see how that kind of pans out and goes down. And then after that, we get another kind of what looks like from the key art that they've put out for it is a pyramid ship kind of eclipsing the Traveler. So I think that may be when the pyramids eventually make it to the tower, or to Earth, or to wherever they're supposed to be going. So lots to look forward to in Destiny, and a new season, dungeon, armor sets, the like, all launched on Tuesday. So big Destiny stuff happening everywhere. So I know we've obviously spoke about Destiny before on the podcast because it is my go-to kind of every week game. Chunt, you and I have got a quite stardusty history of Destiny, and Dan, you've only just started it, but obviously keen to hear what you guys have kind of taken away from it. I'd imagine it's probably different things. Chunt, you're invested, but nowhere near to the degree I am, and Dan is a relative kind of sitting on the edge, wanting to go, do I want to play this? Maybe, no. Is it more just a case of so that we've got something that we can all do together? And how do you think them shaping things up go? So I'll pass it back over to you boys.
Right on. So I'll just jump in because I jumped in last night just to do a couple of quests. Like I did that contact mission. So had the new cutscene, and you show the pyramids, and you end up on Io, and you can see this massive pyramid right in front of like Jupiter and stuff. I'm like, oh, this is so fucking epic, like, oh, just the visuals are so good, and everything's so kind of ominous, and I love it. Like the mood is just, I'm really feeling it. So I can't wait to kind of go through more. I got to the Drifter, did a couple of his things where now he's saying, all right, you got to go run some strikes or some Crucible missions, and I can't stand the Crucible. I'd avoid it with all passion if I can. So at that point, I just put the controller down because I was like, I don't feel like doing that stuff right now. But I'm pretty invested in the story content, and I'll go back and just run that stuff later. But yeah, look, the darkness powers, I'm pretty interested. I want to know more about that and that stasis subclass. Seems like a pretty cool idea. I need to know more about it, and I'm sure they're going to tell us more as we go. But I'm pretty set on my Captain America Titan shield throwing beast, so jumping into another subclass is, it's something different. Oh no. But otherwise, I think the other thing to note is that's exciting, and no one else is kind of really doing it, is next gen, like for Series X and PS5, it'll be definitely 60 frames per second and 4K, cross-platform, cross-play, cross-generational, like all that kind of stuff's coming, and that's huge, man. Like we were talking about that last week about the Power Rangers game being the first kind of small fighting game to be cross-platform or cross-play for everything, and now we've got Destiny 2 really kind of waving this flag. So it's a matter of time before it's going to be a reality for everything. And I think that's something that they can put a good, nice little feather in their cap. So, Dan, you can be on your PS5, and I'll be on my Series X, and Jamie will be on his PC, and, he can be running around doing stuff. What a world, man. But yeah, can't wait for the new expansions. Like, Jamie, I'm all about the story mode stuff. But
yeah,
Dan, you need to get your shit together, son.
I know.
Come on.
I know enough, and I better do it this week before Last of Us comes out, or I'm just screwed. I was really impressed by the event. I think they did say that that it's cross-generational play, and they're aiming for cross-play, but from Series X to PlayStation 5, etc. in next.
Yeah,
I think they're aiming it for next year.
Should be should come with next year's expansion, hopefully. I think this year they've got to get the whole PS4 and PS5 playing together, and Xbox One and Series X playing together, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I thought the whole event was cool. I thought the way they presented it was really cool. Having two people in the same room together was cool. It's weird to see these days. In our next podcast, we'll talk about how that's a little bit different, but no, I thought that was great. And what it made me think of, by them not saying, we're going to make a Destiny 3 and we're going to continue on with this, it kind of made me think of like Marvel Studios, like just in terms of like Marvel Studios are there only to make Marvel films. If they're not making Marvel films, they're dead in the water. They're gone. And Bungie have said, we're making Destiny. Like, this is what we do. And it's kind of nice. Like, if you look at, your Rainbow Sixes and all that, because they're all owned by like Ubisoft and that, if something fails, then, well, it's all right, we'll make another property, or we'll reinvent it and turn it into something else, or like they have things to fall back on. Bungie at the moment are like, we are 100% committed to this. This is what we're doing. And I thought that stood out, and that was a good message to send to the players, because it also showed like we're not taking you for granted. Like we want you to stick around. We want this to be your number one game, or my 2K. Yeah. So no, I was really impressed. I will jump back. I'll jump back in. I promise.
Oh, it sounds so begrudging. Jesus.
Yeah, so like a reason to play a game with us is so terrible, Dan. It's so much hard work. I know. Do you know what? I know exactly what the feeling is with it, and you're probably a key demographic for this. The thing when people look at Destiny's point of entry now is it too far gone for me to hit that point of entry? Because Destiny 2 in itself's got so much content, of which a lot of it's going away. Do you know what I mean? It's going into this vault that they've created, where all of Destiny 1 content and any content rotated out of Destiny 2 will go into, so they don't lose it. It can be repurposed, it can be reprised, it can be put back into the game at different seasons, just to kind of keep things rotating and fresh and technologically free them up. So few of...
Can I interrupt for just a second about that? As you know, guys, we've had conversations in the past about how big these games are getting and how it annoys me, and it's like, find ways to get your game smaller, because you can do it, and by doing it this way, it's like, yes, that's a perfect thing. You don't need everything in your game all the time.
No, it's exactly right. And if people have had up to 4 years to get through certain content inside of Destiny, they've had their time. The game needs to evolve for the people who have invested and have been, they want new stuff. The engine can't handle it. It just can't. They've openly said that. The engine can't handle it. The file size is getting way too big. It's making patching the game a nightmare. So let's cut the crap. Like, Chunt, when was the last time you went to the Leviathan? Like 2-3 years ago?
The last time we were there together.
Yeah, exactly. And I've not been there for a good while. So it's like, all right, so that doesn't need to be in the game at the moment. Getting rid of a couple of the planets I find a bit dubious. Like Titan and Mercury, dust them. They don't do anything. Io surprised me, because it's a used planet. I mean, it's probably one of the least used, but it's still used.
My favorite.
I know it looks pretty for you, but you get Europa and you can just go jam down there for a bit. But you have to think as well, obviously, the following season on, we'll get allegedly a new location, and the Dreadnought will definitely be reprised if it's to do with kind of Sabathun and, the connection to Oryx. And I think we're going to use the Dreadnought for something. I do stand by that. We're going to use it to blow up these fucking pyramid ships. Get them the hell out of our system. Although I don't really want to get them out of our system, because I'm definitely Team Darkness. I'm all about this Darkness subclass that's come into to fruition. I want to play the bad guys always.
I want their armor sets, man. The pyramid people, I want their gear. I'm all about the pyramid
I think there'll be some pretty dope gear coming with the expansion in September. By the way, anybody who is an avid Destiny player, if you do pre-order that, not that we're massive on the whole pre-order everything thing, but if you purchase it for your account, you get a bunch of stuff now, like emotes and banners and things like that. Like, nothing spectacular, but it's just a nice little bonus. If you drop the £60 here, or it'll be $100, I'd imagine, in Australia for the expansion and the whole year's worth of seasons to come. So lots of Destiny going on. I'm just the thing that obviously it comes back to for me is that knowing that a game that I play every day is still going to be alive in 3 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's great. And the sooner the crossplay thing is sorted, the better. So I'm a happy bunny.
yeah, we got the 3 different demographics here. Like you got the hardcore, you've got the kind of I like the story, and then you've got the guys like I don't know. So we're all representing here. But look, I like Destiny, the lore, and the cinematics are amazing. The characters and the locations and art and all that kind of stuff is amazing. But the grind aspect, like everybody knows, I'm not a massive grinder. I don't really do that stuff. And when I get forced to do it, I kind of just groan and turn off. The most times I've grinded, it's with Jamie holding my hand, just pulling me through. So
those 12 hour days back in Destiny 1. Yes. They were the days.
Yeah.
Just sit on Destiny for 12 hours, just chatting bollocks, just running around the Dreadnought farming fragments to get swords.
Yeah.
We've been there, we've done that.
It's been a while since we've had the opportunity, but I need to I'm really hyped for this new content because of the Pyramid people. So I'm kind of inclined to maybe put the effort in. But we'll see how we go, see if it grabs us. But I think the new stuff starts September 22, I believe, which is a couple days before my birthday. Out of interest,
in the new stuff, do you think we'll see this new race who are widely, they're not going to be called the Darkness. They're widely known as to be the Veil is the rumored kind of class of them, if you like. If you think of like the statues in Shadowkeep, that were kind of stood there with the big veils in front of them. They're rumored to be the race. I don't actually think we're going to see them until 2022.
I don't think this year.
Yeah, I don't think this year. I think the 2022 expansion. I think that Lightfall's the one right at the end.
Lightfall.
I think that's when they're going to really come and mess stuff up, and it'll be either then we'll get the transition into what will be new engines, big update. It'll be just next gen. They'll drop support for other platforms. Yeah, so I think that'll either be with Lightfall or the year after.
It's funny, like all the pyramids have arrived, and they're just going to sit there for another 2 years, until they come out to play.
Yeah, well, I don't want to go
Engine
too much
failure.
into some
like,
of the
crap, it's stalled again.
Yeah. This goddamn pyramid won't move. There's contextual elements to what you're talking about in this season's expansion. It goes into some detail as to the conflict, and there is a bit of a tug of war going on between the pyramids and the Darkness and what Savathun is trying to achieve. She's starting to meddle in what they're doing. So I can see that'll be, this fall's expansion. We deal with the Deep Stone Crypt and Europa and have that experience. And then the tug of war between Savathun and the Darkness will take us into the following year's expansion where we deal with Savathun, and then the third year will be, right, there's nobody standing in the way of the Pyramid people no more, and we're coming to mess you up. I'm like, mess us up, give us like weird stuff. Like Destiny needs to be weird again. Like it got to a point where it was quite campy and very Destiny 2 especially, the Western themes of Forsaken, like even Destiny 2's vanilla campaigns and stuff, like they were very run of the mill compared to how dark Destiny 1 got at times. And I think like we're heading back there now. Like we're starting to get, some what we'd call a grey Jedi in Star Wars. Do you know what I mean? Like there is no light and dark. There's just we're powerful as fuck and we're in the middle. Like we're going that way, and that's I'm hyped, man. I'm excited for it. But give me it all now.
It's good.
And give me it yesterday, but it's not coming for a while. The crossplay thing though, I can't stress that enough. Like knowing that I know there's another year involved there, but given new consoles chunt, I'm sure we will be able to play Destiny on Xbox this coming American fall. Because we'll both have Series X's booted up ready for that. And then next year we can play on all of our chosen platforms of choice. So kudos to Bungie, and not just for outlining that for fans like me, but for, as Dan was pointing out, the quality of the event. I've heard a few people say in content I've consumed myself this week, like, look, in these times they nailed it. Like that was the best way of showing content to an audience that anybody's put together since we've been experiencing what we've been experiencing. Obviously the Sony event has happened later in the week, although personally I still took way more away from Bungie's event than I did Sony's, but I'm sure as we've said this is a double bill week. You're getting 2 episodes this week. We're doing this one now, and then we're doing the PlayStation one. But they're probably going to go up in the opposite order. So we need to stop alluding to it because the PlayStation one will probably go out first. Meta in joke for anybody who watches both. But yes, Destiny. It's a good time to be a fan of Destiny.
Well, we'll move on to being another fan of something else, something I have zero experience in, and that's The Last of Us, man. There's a lot of controversy around this property. I think they had some last game as well, but this one in particular. Yeah, like the conversation seems to overshadow the game somewhat. So for Dan, I'm going to be leaning into you for this one. But The Last of Us 2, the negative press from around Naughty Dog, I'm pretty sure you've got some knowledge on it, like what has transpired over the last couple of years and leading up to the launch, like the crunch stuff, the music plagiarism, and I don't know if there was like pay disputes or something I read on. But there's a few things to talk about here where the reviews have come out, and I'm sure you've got thoughts on that. And Jamie, I know you shared some opinion. I looked into it as well as a total fresh person into it, and I can see where, based on those comments, where people might be coming from with their idea on it. But I guess just because it is a big title and it's PlayStation centric and it's kind of current and you're a fan of it, do you have much to kind of educate us with this property and what's been leading up to it? Can you shine a light for us?
Yeah, so I think this has got to do a lot with I think Naughty Dog's practices have been well established about how they operate and how it's considered by most people, including myself, that I don't think it's the best way for employees to work. Crunch is the massive thing. It's crunch essentially what is normally maybe a couple of month thing turns into like a 6 to 9 month thing at Naughty Dog. Doing 12-hour days, and I think people are really grappling with, like, how do we get our point across to say, like, treat your workers better. We want you to treat your workers better. We want you to change your ways. But then they come out, and what it's looking like anyway at the moment, where like Last of Us Part 2 is just getting 10s, like all across the board. The first Last of Us got 10s all across the board. Uncharted 4 probably isn't loved by as much as it is, but it was a really great game. It's probably my favorite Uncharted. So how do people reconcile the fact of like we do kind of want to play these games, but how do we get the message to Naughty Dog and say we don't want you doing it the way you're doing it right now? I am honestly, if I had the choice that they could better up their work practices and the game is 10% worse, then I would take that 10% and just, it doesn't have to be a masterpiece every time. Like, every studio does not always knock it out of the park, and it shouldn't come, getting a 10 at IGN or something should not come at the cost of people's health and well-being. I think everyone would agree with that. I don't know anyone that would be like, no, fuck them. So, I am going to buy the game. I pre-ordered it a long time ago because I love that studio. It's my favorite studio in terms of the games that they make. But I do think it is a hard thing to reconcile about that. I don't know what you guys think on the outside. I think you guys haven't played Uncharted or Last of Us.
I've got a comment on before I pass it to Jamie. Just a comment on the whole. They don't need a 10 from IGN. Like, yeah, nobody does. But if I was a creative lead, or if I had the artistic vision on something that I had people that work for me to get it done the way I would hope, like if I had the budget and the resources and the talented staff to do it, I would want it to be as best as I could get out of them all. So if I had to choose between changing my work practices to improve my employees' position, if I had the feasible option to do that, or cut 10 or 20% out of the game, I would be less inclined to take the 20% out of the game if the end result I'm not going to be satisfied with. I would rather try and figure out a way to get my employees to make it happen, not to smash them or kill them or whatever. I don't agree with how they've been going about it, but I would be reluctant as a creative person to, cut my thing off at the knees just because of some work dispute. Like, you just figure that out. Like, you talk to whoever you need to talk to at the top to go, look, we need to sort this out so we can make this game better so you can make more money. That's the aspect that they should go on with it. There's too much of that happening where you've got movies and games and stuff where you hear stories about, like, the famous Halo 2 ending. They cut out the whole ending of the game and it ended on a cliffhanger because they just ran out of time and budget and resources to do it. And it's still talked about to this day. So I'll disagree with you on that one. I think cutting the creative process off at the knees to satiate the employees as a creative person is a bad thing. But
it's about not scaling, right? Like, when
not at the sacrifice of humans.
Yeah, like, okay, you have 3 years or 4 years to make a game, and people are working from 9 till 5. Like, that's what you got to work with. Now make a game in that. Like, that's just a basic limitation. So it shouldn't, and obviously crunch will happen. Crunch, because people want it to be good, and therefore at the end they will go harder. So that will happen, no doubt. But the scalability of it and the fact that Naughty Dog don't work with producers, everyone acts as a producer, so everyone is just doing what they want to do, and it's
multiple hats.
It's not the best way to work. Anyway,
Dangerous
sorry.
It's a bit muddied, but you can't argue with the results they get there, right? So there is that. But Jamie, like, I don't know if you have a particular point you want to add to that conversation, or like, I know you've
around the creative side of it. I mean, I agree with you in terms of I wouldn't compromise my vision, but the way that I go about it would be completely different to what they do. Do you know what I mean? If they have this agreement in place that the game's going to take 4 years, right? It's going to take 4 years for us to build this. The vision demands 4 years, and then 2 years into it, it's like, right, you have to hit that mark. Rinsing your employees for that is not okay, because your vision should have been planned out clearer to the point where you said at the start, hey, we can't do this in 4 years. Neil Druckmann should know his studio well enough by now to go, we need more time to do this effectively, rather than going, I'll just run them into the ground because this is Naughty Dog and that's how we do shit. Like, that attitude's got to be thrown out. It really has.
And you're vice president now.
Yeah, it's got to go. That attitude has to disappear. So hopefully, what they do next, it will. They do always come out and try and right their wrongs. Like, I think we've spoke about that before. I think the conversation around like, getting 10s from IGN and everything. I mean, obviously it did. A very PlayStation centric reviewer reviewed the game. What else is going to happen? Do you know what I mean? They were going to enjoy it. Of course they were. The critiques that I've kind of picked up over the last sort of 24 hours since Embargo went on the game has been more around the conversation people were having to do with the limitations on what they could include in reviews. And I think that's shady as hell. Like, not just anybody who does it, it's shady. You can't have an embargo lift and then still keep people tight-lipped on aspects of the game for fear of spoilers, when nearly everybody's coming out and saying it's not so much to do with the spoilers, it's to do with the direction the game takes, which would influence the conversation around the reasoning that I'm giving you for my opinion of this game. So you can't handcuff people like that and expect them to put out a legitimate review of something. And 3 or 4 people, very reputable people within official games media, I'm not talking just YouTube reviewers, have said the same thing. Yes, your usual suspects have, obviously. They've gravitated towards it. They love it. Brilliant. So happy for them. Not a franchise I'm invested in, so I'm more interested in the narrative around it. I caught some of SkillUp's review. I turned it off after about 10 minutes because I could see exactly where he was going. I was like, I don't need to listen to a full 25 minutes of this. The themes and the game has tried to grow in ways it didn't need to. It's sacrificed story for a bunch of other stuff, and Dan obviously is an avid fan of the first game. It was the story, it's the thing that drawn you to it. Nobody's praising the first Last of Us game for its gameplay elements or its combat mechanics. Like they were not good. So it's good to see that the game's grown. Well, you're in a very very small pocket of humans. So yeah, I was quite interested by that. I think it's interesting that they've handcuffed people so much. Yes, it's getting tense most places. But as I said to you boys earlier, you look around, and yes, you can pull up the whole the SJW adventure, but no, Kotaku, Polygon, people like Alana Pierce, as I said, Skill Up, like these people that are known for doing good stuff for what they do, have all brought up the same gripes, and therefore I don't think it can be considered perfect. If this many people in the industry have got issues with it, I can't pass judgment. I haven't played it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sitting here going, I agree with these people, because I'm just saying the narrative needs to be. These conversations can get overwhelmed with positivity when there may actually be something more to it, and Sony is actively stopping people from exploring that more by half-assing their embargo. That makes sense.
Yeah, I found, just as me, as a complete outsider to this franchise, I didn't even understand what the game was about that they're telling me, because I heard all those same things. They're like, we can't tell you this, we can't tell you this, we can't tell you that, and I'm like, all right, you're not really telling me anything. I don't know what that has to deal with. I don't know, because this game leaked like months ago, or the story at least leaked. I didn't read any of it, I didn't see any of it, the footage, I just avoided it. But I don't know if what was in that might have been part of the reason. I don't know. And then you've got the other conversation I noticed that was going around that you guys brought up was like, and they did comment it on the reviews as well, is that the violence of the game, and how sometimes it's a bit too much. And I'm interested in that because as someone who's interested in Mortal Kombat and who's played every Gears of War game and it's just gore all over the place, I'm like, okay, what makes this one different? Is it just how visceral it is, or is it just how realistic it is, or are the people that are playing this game just too soft, or what? Like, I don't know.
I think the key statement around that,
the first game the same?
Before you move your point on that, Chun, I think the key quote that I read about that stuff was that it was also people inside the studio thought that they were just being violent for violence sake. Like, when people that work there are concerned that the violence is unnecessary, people building the game are going, is that a bit much? Does that really need to be there? Because that's part of the creative vision. So that was the part of that conversation that really got me going, hang on a minute. Like, I don't care if, Tim next door goes, oh, that's a bit graphic. Like, is it? Don't play it. Like, simple. Which is the shorthand way to look at it. But when you hear that some developers that are working on the game have taken a bit of issue with it, and then, people at review stage are taking a bit of issue with it, maybe there's some meritocracy and conversation that needs to happen around it. But Dan, you're chomping at the bit. Sorry, I jumped in ahead there just to contextualize that that approach.
Yeah, no, you're right. And what it, and I've listened to a couple of reviews and discussions, and what I'm getting out of it is that there is a specific thing during the game that happens, which, depending on how you feel, either contextualizes all the violence that's happening and flips it on its head, or it doesn't, or it's not working for people, and it's making them go, oh, I don't know if it's necessary. So it sounds like basically the most interesting talking points about the game are the ones that are embargoed still, and they won't let people talk about. And some of them are saying, like, come back in a week when we do a more thorough review and we can talk more about specific points in the game, because the reviews that I've listened to are really good. Like, they tell you what's good about the game, what it brings up, and the gameplay, and they talk about everything as a review. But you can tell all of them just kind of want to be like, I want to sit down with 4 people and talk about this, what happens in this game, because it's interesting whether you liked it or didn't like it. It's interesting. I actually wanted to ask you guys, because I thought of this morning. Because there are some times where there are games that I hear that are talked about all the time, and I never pay attention to, and then enough people talk about it, I end up just like looking through the story and the spoilers or gameplay stuff, and then it ends up selling me on it after the fact, and then I go play the game. Like when you guys hear stuff like this, do you kind of go, wow, you know, when it comes out, I might just watch a spoiler cast of it and then look at it and go, is that something I want to play?
Yeah, I mean, but before touching that point, just to go back onto the, you know, you just made dots connect in my brain. The elements that people want to talk about to review a game is still embargoed, yet their Metacritic score is 96 because the reviews are being treated as complete. Yet people are going, come back in a week when we can talk about this properly.
Yeah, but it's not going to change their scores. Their
It
scores
won't.
are still
It
going to
won't.
be the
But
same.
it's not. It's not against. It's not the score thing that I'm talking about. It's the fact that the conversation that needs to happen to be a part of contextualizing a piece of work can't take place. Do you know what I mean? As a consumer, they haven't fully reviewed a game. The full review doesn't exist until next week when they can talk about it. So do you see what I mean? Like embargoes lift on reviews so that consumers can be informed of a product of which they're going to buy. That is the logical path. But and it's not the first time this has happened. It's not the first time Sony have done it. Bethesda have done it a few times. These tiny little rules that they put in are there. Do you know who's really great at it? Activision. They release a Call of Duty game. People go, this is great. And hey, there's no microtransactions. 1 week later, bang, microtransactions. That changes the narrative. It changes the conversation. That's the kind of the point that I was getting at with it. It's I find it super shady. But to touch your point on, you know, does the controversy surrounding it make me want to play it? I've still every intention of playing the first one. I played the first hour or so with you, Dan, years ago. It's been remastered since, right?
Yeah.
Or was it the remaster that we were playing? I don't remember. Irrespective, you know, I want to know I do want to know what the fuss is about, and everybody's saying it's about the story, and I like story-driven games, so yeah, of course I do. And this game, I'm sure it'll be great. I'm not catting out to play it next week, but I'm sure it's something that I'll eventually get to, and the narrative around it does make you want to go, I want to experience this for myself and pass my own judgment. Like, I can't pass judgment on anything that we're talking about, because at this stage we're taking other people's words as gospel. Do you know what I mean? It's not my own decision. So yes, to answer your question, it makes me more interested to play it for sure.
Yeah, I don't know about me. Like I just got the first game a couple of months ago. I haven't played it yet. So that game has been lauded for years, and I still haven't played it, even though I own it now. But same thing might happen with this one. Who knows? I'm not invested enough to throw like $80 down on it. But if other games like have the same conversation of, ooh, this is brutal or whatever, not really. Like, I'm pretty good at knowing what I want to play, and I'll go just do that. But example of like Mortal Kombat 11, I got pretty invested in MK10. That was great. MK11 came out. I didn't feel like throwing $100 down on it, and I just watched one of my favorite fighting game creators, Maximilian Dude. He loves Mortal Kombat and fighting games, and I knew that he was going to do a playthrough. So I just watched his content because I wanted to know the story mode for it. And then the Aftermath DLC that came out, I was like, yeah, okay, there's more story for it. I just watched that. And you can see all the fatalities and that kind of shit. So I didn't feel like throwing down a couple $100 just to get a whole package of MK11. So, you know, that's the only kind of thing I can really think of where a game that I've been interested in, where I've gone and just watched someone else do it. You know, I like to stay away from things that I know that I'm going to play it. But yeah, I think that answers your question.
Damn, live stream the whole of The Last of Us 2, and Chunt and I will both watch it. We'll watch you play it.
Go for it.
Or we can, Chunt, you and I can commit to playing the first game next week.
I play the second.
Yeah.
We'll both sit and play the first one next week and see what the fuss about the first one was about.
That'd be a good idea, actually. Yeah, I might do that because I assume we're going to talk about the game, like when Dan's played Last of Us 2, we can have a talk about it. I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
So next week's podcast, obviously, I won't have finished it by then because I'll get it the Friday night and then we record on a Saturday morning. It sounds like it's about a 30-hour game, so the week after it will definitely be done because I have that whole weekend off.
How long's the first
Cool.
one?
If you're playing on normal, like 16 hours.
That's not too bad.
Might be able to commit. It depends how lost in virtual reality I am. Let's be honest.
True.
That's a real problem.
It is a problem. I'll tell you what's not a problem is remakes when they're done really well. And that just goes right into my topic, ending it right there, is Alex Kidd in Miracle World. Oh my God, I've been wanting to talk about this since they announced it. Oh my God. So just to give you some context, first, have you guys played
this game?
You guys don't know what it is, or have you played it? Ever?
No idea.
I know what Alex Kidd is.
Right
I don't know
on.
which one you're referring to. I think the only one I ever played was on the 3DS.
Holy shit. All right. So for context, 1986, Alex Kidd was the mascot for Sega Master System at the time.
I
basically.
was not born.
No, I was alive a year. So it's quite a beloved character and property amongst Sega fans. It was originally, actually, that game, the first game, was originally meant to be a Dragon Ball game, funnily enough. And throughout production, they didn't get the license secured, so they had to turn it into something else. And the game actually came pre-installed with the Master System itself. So it was like one of those first times we'd buy a console, and if you didn't have a game or you didn't have enough to buy a game, it actually was pre-installed into the hardware. So you can just turn it on, and you've got a game ready to go without a cartridge in it. That was pretty wild. I remember going to a kid's place, and we discovered that. Like we didn't know about it. He just like, oh, I got this new console, and he had some games and stuff, and we were swapping out games and accidentally turned it on, and this other game loaded up, and it was Alex Kidd, and we're like, what? Oh my God, this is magic. What a surprise, And it was one of those times where in the PAL regions in particular, Master System was a lot bigger than the Nintendo Entertainment System at the time, which, knowing that in my adult years, looking back, I was like, yeah, that makes sense, because everyone I knew had a Master System and very select had a Nintendo. I think one or two kids that I knew growing up had a Nintendo. Everybody else was Master System. So that was interesting. Like, particularly in Australia and England, Master System was massive. And in, I think, South America, I want to say like Brazil, like that kind of area, they're still making Mega Drives. They're still in production of some sort over there, which is just completely wild. So anyway, that's context on the game, right? It's a side-scrolling game, traditional like it was back then. You play as this kid who's got this massive punching fist. You can punch bricks and creatures and jumping around this weird world. And your boss fights are like rock, paper, scissors type thing, which is, it's very memorable if you played it back in the day, where you can confront a boss and you both say something to each other, and then you both have to kind of do your rock, paper, scissors thing. And, if you guess it right 2 or 3 times in a row, he dies, or he turns into a burger or something, and you eat him, and you move on. But funny note, just rambling off random trivia for this. In our version, the guy would be munching on a burger, but in Japan, it was like one of those rice rolls. So it was one of those like regional changes, because kids aren't going to understand what a rice roll is over in the Western world. It's pretty funny. But anyway, so just giving you some context on that game, they've announced it the other day. It's being remade, funnily enough, not by Sega. It's another one like Streets of Rage, which has been outsourced to another studio. Well, they've been given the license to do so. Merge Games, never heard of them. They're doing it, and the screenshots are just beautiful. It looks amazing, and it's one of those standard, here's a remade game, it looks pretty, but you can turn it into retro mode, you can play the original game. But they're also adding new levels and new bosses and revamping levels and stuff, so it's not just the same game all over again. It's going to be a new experience. There's like a boss rush mode as well, so get ready for a lot of rock, paper, scissors. And yeah, the last part of
I'm watching gameplay on it right now, and do you remember when games only had 8 colors to choose from? And like, like the sky is so blue.
It's very blue.
Everything
very blue.
is one color. Great.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things I noticed about this one. The remake is like, oh, they're putting backgrounds in. Wow, cool. It's not just a stark blue sky all the time, but it's very memorable for those of us who grew up with it or had experienced it back in the day. I can still hear the music in the back of my head, and yeah, very, very cool. Just the one last thing I want to note on this particular game is the rock paper scissors thing that I've talked about a number of times. I always thought they were just random, like you had to just guess and chance it. And I always thought that was so unfair, but it turns out that's not the case. They are actually preset combinations. So if you know it as an adult, you can just go, yeah, that one, and move on. And I was like, wow, I only found that out last week when I was just talking to someone about the game randomly about it. This was before they announced this one. And it just blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, this whole time, even though I've got the emulator game and stuff, this whole time I'm like, I can never progress past this level because I can't guess the combinations right. But they're preset. So this whole time I've been living a lie on this game. God damn it. So now I can go just Google what the combos are and I can finish the game. But now they're remaking it and I'm pretty sure they're going to take that out. So it's going to be a whole other thing. So I'm excited about this. Like, there's very few remakes that come out. Like Wonder Boy that they threw on the Switch when that came out. I was pretty keen on that, but I never picked it up. There's something about it. I just feel like I wanted it. And reviews weren't kind of favorable, but yeah. But this one in particular, I'm like, yeah, I can get down to this. But that's like a brief history of what Alex Kidd is. Not to be confused with Alex the Kid, which many of us thought that was the name, and it's a point of contention for many Sega fans. Alex Kidd in Miracle World. It's going to change the game. It's going to change everything. Mario, look out.
Oh, they're literally going to change the game. That's what we just talked about.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Yeah, so it's just awesome to see these old Sega properties coming back. But Sega aren't doing anything. Like, they're not doing it themselves. They're just like, yeah, don't know. Just give it to someone else to do. I don't understand why. Like, they're pumping out these Yakuza games and whatever else they want to do, but Streets of Rage comes out with a developer that loved it, and clearly it hit with fans, and it's a success. Sonic Mania came out, developed by a little studio because Sega weren't sure about it. That became a massive hit, and now we've potentially got Alex Kidd coming back, maybe the same effect. And you just got to be sitting there going, Sega, what are you doing? Like, why can't you do this? Do you just not have the resources and you have to put it out to other people? But if you're going to keep doing that, give Shinobi to someone, or Shadow Dancer, whatever you want to call it. I want a Shadow Dancer remake next, please. But anyway, back to Alex Kidd. What is your experience with this property, if at all? Please tell me. Am I the only one here?
I think you're up shit creek, mate.
Damn it.
My experience is what I'm watching on YouTube right now. That's my experience.
I feel like was there a 3DS game? Did that happen?
Probably. It might have been on some collection or something. I don't know if it had its own game. It had like a sequel on Mega Drive. That was called something else. Can't remember, but no one really remembers that one. It's this one that people remember. But yeah, that's a bit disappointing. Here I am, like, yeah, this is fucking sweet. And it's like, yeah, I don't even know what that is.
Apparently, I can download Alex Kidd in Miracle World on PlayStation Network for £3.69.
Yep. Yeah, that's probably just the port, I guess. It's definitely not the remake.
Released in the Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network in May 2012.
Oh, there you go. Cool. So this new one, it's up on Steam for, I think you can pre-order it on Steam now, but it's not up on anything else yet. Like, there's no release date for it. But I don't know. This is one of the first things I saw the other morning, and I was like, "Hot damn! Oh damn! Yeah, this is good." This is one of those announcements that just you never thought would ever happen, and as a property in a game that I love, even though I can only get up to like level 3 because I never knew the combinations, and now my whole life is a lie. I'm keen to go back into it and give it another whirl. and educate potential others out there. As I mentioned at the top of this,
does that not take the magic away though, mate? A bit going, oh, I can finally cheat it. Never knew as a child, and now I can just Google it.
Well, yeah, it does. I kind of like the idea of like, oh, I never got it. You know, it's always a chance or the probability of moving forward. But I guess in a way now, in my 34th year of age, knowing that I can progress through the game, it's not too bad. I mean, if I haven't been able to do it in 34 years, I'm quite fine in cheating my way through it just to see it. But in saying that, I may as well just wait for this one and see if it's doable or if it's the same problem or the same.
I don't think anybody would begrudge you after 34 years of life not experiencing the end of an old 8-bit game.
yeah, I know. I thought at least one of you guys might know about it or have.
I know of the character. I just don't have any experience with the game. Like I know the character, but yeah, I've never ever played one.
Yeah, that's what interests me because as a kid, it was always Mario, Alex Kidd, Sonic. It was those three. Mind you, Alex Kidd was third on the podium, in our areas. But so I always find it interesting when I do ask, or on chats or forums or whatever, and you get involved in conversations, and some people are like, "Who the hell's Alex Kidd?" And you're like, "Oh my god!" And even at work, I put it in chat. I'm like, "So, am I the only one here that knows who Alex Kidd is?" And there's like one person was like, "Oh my god, yeah, I haven't heard that name in years." I'm like, oh my god,
have I got a story for you?
Yeah, pretty much. So I dropped these screenshots on him. He's like, oh my god, they're doing it. And I'm like, yeah, at least one person can appreciate this. So I'll spread it around where it needs to go. But yeah, that's my fluffy little entrance into this episode today. As I mentioned at the top, it's going to be quite educational, an edutainment of shared knowledge. And so we've done a bit of that. We've had Destiny 2 at the top with Jamie's expertise. And we've had Dan's expertise on The Last of Us and Naughty Dog's trials and tribulations. Now here's my fluffiness with Alex Kidd. Been good. It's been a good one.
It's been good.
Right. And if people are magic enough, they'll figure out that there was an episode yesterday about a PlayStation show that happened. Even though we've gone forward and backwards in time in the Matrix and labeled the episode numbers wrong. So we'll deal with it. We'll just cope with it. So yesterday was an episode. Telling you, trust me, go back, look yesterday. We uploaded something yesterday about PlayStation and what they did this week. Promise it happened.
Something happened.
Believe the man.
Yeah.
Promise it happened. It happened in the future, for the past, for now.
Yeah. It's a small, significant, event that happened. So, look, we'll end on a fluffy note with this one. Go back in time and visit that one. And I'll have my Xbox light shining brightly as we discuss some PlayStation news.
And you can't see it unless you're in your one. There you go. Now you can see it.
Look at it. Yeah, bring it on. It's got new batteries in it, ready for it. Cool, right on. So you can find our socials at the top, ours at the bottom. Go nuts, do everything, and we'll catch you on that one. Toodaloos.
Bye.
Yow.